Hey guys, Jason here with another LaunchBox Developer Sessions video. And first order of business today, the biggest pieces of news for the last week is we started the live development sessions. And they've been going extremely well. Been very, very happy with the turnout for those. We've had watchers pretty much the entire 3 hours for each of the videos that we did. We did one on Monday at 9:30 and in the morning. And we did one today at 9:30 in the morning, and each of them went for like 3 hours, which I think is a good amount of time to get into some development. Really enjoying that more than I expected, so I'm going to keep doing that. I think every week we're going to do a couple of them, and I hope that it really shows the community a little bit of the development process and helps them appreciate everything that goes into LaunchBox. And I hope it's a good teaching material as well for those who are interested in learning how this stuff all works. So I'm very pleased with all that stuff, with how that's going. If you haven't noticed already, all the previous live development feeds are indeed up on the YouTube channel. So we'll keep doing that. We'll throw all the videos up there. They're very, very long to watch, but of course, after the fact, you have the benefit of being able to skip around in the YouTube videos. So I would encourage you to check those out if you haven't already, if you enjoy or you're intrigued by the development process. So we will continue to do those. The other thing I wanted to mention with the live streaming is nobody has asked for any other specific times for us to do the live streaming. I know that for a lot of people at 9:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, people are at work. But it's actually worked out. We've had quite a few viewers from around the world, so that's worked out pretty well. But let me know if you are really wanting to view the live streaming sessions, and what times might work for you. And it may work out that we can change those times. So give me some feedback there if you want those times changed so you can connect up. I mean, I'm available to ask questions and everything live during those sessions, so that is wide open for you guys. All right, now progress this past week, we have still been working on the big box views. We put some significant work into the views. We've cleaned up a lot of the issues with the games lists views with the cover flow and the horizontal box art, all that stuff. We added alphanumeric navigation to those so that it's actually usable with large lists now. That works very well. We added the ability to switch between the views with a hotkey. We added quality and reflection opacity settings for cover flow, so you can customize cover flow a bit. And just this morning in the live development session, we got into working on new views for the platforms list and for the filters lists. And that, I will admit, that's proving to be a little bit more involved than I expected. So shortly after the live development process this morning, I got it all functional and got it working, and just looked into how cover flow was working with the platforms and with the various types of platform images, like the device images. There's one thing I was envisioning is using cover flow with the transparent devices so that you see the actual NES console, the actual N64 console, and they slide across your screen. That was my initial idea there, but I'm not sure that I like it so much. So I am going to go a little bit back to the drawing board there to tweak that stuff. And there's also some minor issues with transparency with those transparent console images. So I think I am going to put out a beta very quickly with hopefully tomorrow, maybe Friday, with some examples there. So I'm not going to make everybody wait just because I'm not happy with it. But I want to make sure these views are really, really nice going forward. And obviously the platforms view and adding some good options there for the platforms view is going to be huge because that's the first screen you see when you load it up. So it's very important that we really nail that. So as always, I'm looking for feedback on all that stuff. If you have a good idea of something in your head for the platforms view that you think would work really, really well, do let me know. We've been getting some really great feedback already for the games list, and I appreciate that. I'm excited to implement some more views there as well. But I will say that starting next week, we definitely have a ton more work to do for Big Box yet before we release 6.0. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest releases we've ever done, I think, because we got a ton of work to do across the board. And that's why we have the betas, so you can get access to this stuff early. I think that's very important. You're going to be waiting a while. I will admit you're going to be waiting a while for 6.0 just because we have so much we want to stick into it. And then that's what I need to get into next. Next week, I'm going to take a break from big box development because I've been working on it for almost 2 weeks now. Next week, I'm going to take a break from big box development and go back into LaunchBox. And the next thing we need to do in LaunchBox is basically streamline the connection to the LaunchBox games database. We need to get them synced up because we have fields that are different on the LaunchBox games database and fields that are different in LaunchBox itself. So basically we need to make them the same, make them work the same, add missing fields to both sides, maybe change the fields that are necessary to change. And then, of course, we need to get the data syncing and allow users to be able to contribute from inside LaunchBox to the LaunchBox Games database, like I've been so excited about for so long. So that is what is planned for next week development-wise. I'm very pleased with how things are going. I surprised myself with some of the big box development with the views. I was a little bit worried about being able to do that stuff, so I'm pretty pleased that we're able to push that stuff forward. I hope you guys are enjoying all that progress as well. Now, there were a few questions in the last video that I'm pulling up here. Give me just a second. And Andre, I think that's how it's pronounced, he says he has 6 questions for me, and I appreciate that. I'll take them, and we can answer them for sure. So his first question is, if you've ever used Plex, it syncs all your metadata with their database and overwrites everything that you haven't locked. I.e., if you want to call a movie Blade Runner Final Cut and they have only Blade Runner in their database, you can just rename it yourself and lock it, and the rest of the info will be updated accordingly. I haven't been able to figure out how to have my info in the LaunchBox be synced, preferably auto-synced to the database, to have database updates reflect in my library, nor how to lock any parameters. Is this possible right now? So that is basically job number 1 for next week, as far as getting the sync to work properly. You might not have noticed, I haven't really been broadcasting it out to the world, but the data you're using in LaunchBox is actually just the local XML data. And every time we put out a new release of LaunchBox, I update that data from the website. But back when we got rid of the games database and I rushed that out because the games database was always down, we basically took the local database and updated it with all the data that we possibly could, and we've just been updating the local database with a copy of what's in the cloud every time we put out a major release. And obviously that means that new games that are being added to the games database are not showing up in LaunchBox yet. Obviously the images are coming from the cloud, from the website, but all the metadata is not. It's coming from the stuff that comes with LaunchBox. So step number 1 is to be able to actually download updates from the LaunchBox Games database for all the metadata to be updated. Now I'm choosing to go that route so that you can download updates on a daily basis to update all the local metadata instead of querying the games database constantly with every new game. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I've noticed it is so much quicker. The import process and updating metadata and all that stuff is so much quicker if we just download a copy of the entire database in XML to your computer and you search that way than if you do a call up every single time you search for a game. You do a call up to the games database like the game we were doing for the Games DB. When we switched that over, the speed was so much quicker. So I'm going to keep using that approach going forward. But that we have had some users noticing that the updates and the new games they add to the games database on the web are not showing up in LaunchBox, and that is true. That is because right now the way it is, it's using the data that comes with LaunchBox, and it's not making a trip up to the web every time it searches for a new game, which is by design because we rush that stuff out the door. But that is also why it's such a priority for me to get back to LaunchBox and all that stuff very quickly so that I can add a download so you can update your metadata in LaunchBox for newly added games, etc. All right, so that's that. And then as far as syncing, yes, one of the main goals with LaunchBox 6.0 is to be able to sync all your data up to the cloud. Have a button that hits sync and lets you specify which of the values between the LaunchBox Games database and what's in your local collection, which value is best. And then it will A, update your local collection, update your local game, or B, propose a change to the cloud to update the game in the cloud. Now we're going to automate some of that, so hopefully you're not clicking yes, 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 but to a certain extent that might be required, but just to keep the moderation not to be horrible, but it will only require you to do that for things that are different or missing, etc., etc. So there should be plenty of control there, and hopefully we can add the ability to specify bulk preferences so you don't have to do that repeatedly over and over and over. So that's that. Hopefully that answers your first question, Andre. Number two, he asks, why is Wikipedia checked off when it comes to importing data? The Wikipedia import, man, when we first started having problems with the GamesDB going down and all that stuff ages ago, it's probably more than a year ago now, I looked into adding Wikipedia as a data source because there's actually an API for Wikipedia. And we implemented it, and I'm glad we got it in there, but to be completely honest, it's not my proudest feature because the Wikipedia is not the best source, at least with the API, it's not the best source of gaming data because it's not really stored in a way that's easy to interpret. It's more stored like a website is, because it is a website, than a real database that gets you access to all this gaming data. So it has plenty of issues as far as consistency. For example, when you load up a Wikipedia game page, it's not for one platform. It's for all the platforms, all the game systems combined. And so getting accurate data because of that is a major challenge. So the reason why it's not checked by default is just because the quality of the data is not near as good as the quality of the data in the games in the games database, and then of course ultimately now the LaunchBox Games database. So that's the reason why Wikipedia isn't checked by default, although you can set it to be checked by default in the options. All right, number three, he says, I know that you said we need to have a premium account with EMU Movies to get videos and manuals, but I personally don't have that kind of money. Is there a way to use a YouTube link, PDF link for videos and manuals respectively, so that I don't have to go around ripping YouTube videos? That is a common request. Unfortunately, no, there isn't right now. However, now that we've added VLC, the VLC video playback engine, I think that's more of a possibility. And I think there is a feature request on Bitbucket for that. But as of right now, unfortunately, you need downloaded videos in order to use the video functionality. He says, are there plans for adding videos manuals to the games database? Yes. Long term, I do hope to add videos and manuals to the games database. I'm not sure if I've discussed this in these videos, but one thing I have to mention is I'm concerned with ripping off EMU Movies, for example, because I don't want people to download a bunch of EMU Movies videos and then just directly upload them right to our database. So that's one challenge I'm seeing possibly with adding videos to our games database. And of course also bandwidth might be a concern. I'm not really sure at this point how much bandwidth that would require. But yes, I so want to do that. I've had that in my head from the very beginning just because it'd be so nice to be able to provide all these videos for free. But at the same time, Emu Movies offers an awesome service, and I don't really want to discredit them by doing that either. And getting the amount of quality videos that they have in their database put together for our community to do that would be a major job, and we would need serious devotion from a lot of people in order to be able to do that stuff. Because this is an awesome community and an awesome job they've done over there to get those videos together. High quality stuff. So I still highly recommend Emu Movies. Really enjoy what they do, and I appreciate them. I mean, I'd love to offer videos for free, so I think I will open that up eventually. But it's a matter of being able to police it so that people don't just rip off other people's videos. So there's a lot of potential issues there. Anyways, he says, my main concern really is that I want to have a system that is future-proofed in the sense that if videos aren't an easy thing to add at the moment, I'd like to have the peace of mind that if they are added down the line, it can auto-sync and won't have to be manually editing all my info every month. Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, like I said, that's a long-term goal, but there are lots of potential complications there that we will have to work through. And certainly adding videos to the games database isn't a priority. We got a ton of other priorities before we get there. All right, number 4, I modified to the moon on the games DB. Oh, he changed the capitalization on a letter, and it was approved. But now when I import the game, it still says to the moon. Is this an error? So basically, he's seeing the same thing here that I just was talking about. The data that you're using in LaunchBox is not live to the games database, and I hope you guys don't hang me for that. It's been that way ever since we switched over from the gamesdatabase.net to the LaunchBox games database, and we did that just because we were rushing it out because the gamesdatabase.net was down and no one could get any metadata, and it was kind of a disaster. So we were definitely putting out fires in that regard. So that's why we made that decision initially. And we've been doing all this other stuff just because we got all this other cool stuff to do. But truthfully, we really need to get back and so that people are able to download updated data. So like I said, that's planned for first thing next week. And then he says, number 5, every time I try to clean up images, which I think should be an automatic thing as an option, I get an error saying that my LaunchBox images background is being used by another service, and it crashes my Google Drive. Even after Google Drive is no longer running, I still get the same issue. So you may have found a glitch there, to be honest. I haven't seen that myself. You probably, yeah, it sounds like it's a glitch that I need to address. So Andre, if you can report that on Bitbucket, I'd really appreciate it with all the details you can provide. It's possible it's related to Google Drive, but I'm not sure. I will say that it's been maybe a year and a half, 2 years since I used Google Drive. But goodness sakes, I wanted Google Drive to work so badly because I was, especially back then, I was a huge Google fanboy, but I could not get Google Drive to work reliably. So I hope they fixed those issues by now. Like I said, I haven't tested it in a year and a half, 2 years. But the last I tried using it for 6 months to a year, and it would just crash constantly. So I hope that's no longer the case with Google Drive. I'm not sure if you're paying for Google Drive, but man, Dropbox is killer. I really appreciate Dropbox because it's so stable. It never breaks. It just works beautifully, but it's not cheap either. So, and I haven't compared the prices, so I'm just rambling on this. But yeah, sounds like we've got a glitch I need to fix. So hopefully we can get a ticket in that for Bitbucket. That's another thing I need to jump on very soon. Is I need to go through the Bitbucket list of bugs and start squashing those. All right, number 6. I've gone through a ton of emulators and finally settled on Retroarch. However, my fear, it is Retroarch, by the way. It's not Retroarch. I promise. Anyways, however, my fear is that if its development ends or the cores aren't updated anymore, some are fairly behind the emulators they're from, that it will just stagnate and I will have dead saves. What is your opinion on using Retroarch for all my emulation that it supports? Well, Retroarch is my favorite emulator, hands down. It's seen very, very active development. I mean, it's always the risk with software. It could disappear, but open source software, I don't even know how open source RetroArch is. I haven't really looked into that, but I know to a certain extent it is. I wouldn't worry about RetroArch dying. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I mean, unless you're talking 10 years, then maybe it might be a concern. But RetroArch, I would call fairly stable as far as whether it's going away. However, it's in rapid development. RetroArch really is in rapid development, just like LaunchBox is. But they've been around for a long time as well. But so the one thing about RetroArch that I have run into is that oftentimes new releases have issues. So if you do look to upgrade, make sure you save your old copy of RetroArch just in case there's issues with a new one that you can't seem to get resolved. But yeah, I think the entire emulation community would be completely lost without RetroArch. And I don't think anybody's going to let RetroArch die. To be honest, I think that's a pretty safe bet for long term. Probably the safest bet anywhere because development for emulators traditionally has been pretty flaky historically. They're definitely not. I mean, because you get development and it comes and goes, changes hands, etc., because it's hard to work on this stuff, and people don't get paid to work on emulators, and so it's very difficult to keep development going, I would imagine. So from that perspective, RetroArch I think has probably got everybody beat as far as the support, the development support, and how likely it is to be here 5-10 years down the line. I would bet that RetroArch is here to stay. All right, so those were all the questions from Andre. I think that was pretty much it questions-wise. Let me take a quick look. The Y button asks if there are any options for random game select in Big Box. And I answered no, right now there aren't, but we probably need to add that. I'm not sure if there's a ticket for that on Bitbucket. I think there is. But yeah, I agree. We definitely need a random game select, random game launch, something like that in Big Box. Beyond that, I think that's it. I think I am gonna continue my showing off of big box games here. So I'm gonna go grab King's Quest VI, and this is the, if you can see it, there it is. This is the CD version of King's Quest VI. This is not my favorite release of King's Quest VI. When I was a kid, I actually had the floppy disk release of King's Quest VI, and it was the 3.5 inch, not the 5.25 inch. But that release was amazing. The box was so cool. It's the red box. It's so big, and I think it came with like 10, 12 discs. It was pretty insane. So that's my favorite release. But I picked this up just because CDs don't go bad like discs do, and having the talky voices really is awesome in this version of King's Quest VI. It's a killer game, killer version of the game. Came out, I'm not sure exactly when it came out. Came out like a year after the original game was released, something like that. And the voice acting was stellar. It's just amazing. This game, to me, it's the best adventure game of all time. It came out for both MS-DOS and Windows 3.1, I think. I'm not sure how well it runs on Windows 95. But this is the game to play. ScumVM and DOSBox both will play this game very well. We'll go through the box here real quick. Not a ton in this box. You have the CD. It is a nice CD setup here, and you have a booklet in here. And I think this is, believe it or not, I think this might actually be a duplicate of the manual. No, okay, so interesting. No, it is. It's a duplicate. Oddly, I'm not sure why, and I got this off eBay. It's possible that they added an extra copy or something, but strangely, it comes with this booklet in the CD case and came with another one on top of that. which is really strange, but they're basically the same thing. I haven't gone page by page to make sure they're exactly the same thing. But copyright 1992, 1993, same thing on the other one. I don't know. There's that. And then this is the famous guidebook to the land of the Green Isles. And this served as their copy protection at the time. You had to have this book in order to be able to complete the game, which was very, very irritating for a lot of games. But at least with this book, they did a good job making it interesting and fun. Sierra did that quite a bit with a lot of other adventure games at the time. But I enjoyed. I was a little, I think I've played this game so many times it's ridiculous. So I played it when I was really young, when it first came out in 1993. I think I was like 7 or 8. And then I didn't really get into it until I was probably 9 or 10. And I've played it yearly, literally, every single year of my life. That's how good this game is to me. It's just beautiful. Every aspect of King's Quest VI. Best adventure game ever made, and it's sad, but every single time I play an adventure game, ever since that game, it's like, it's drab. I haven't had, there's very few adventure games that I've enjoyed anywhere near King's Quest VI. It's like King's Quest VI has ruined adventure games for me, and I'm not sure, maybe it's the nostalgia, but man alive, is that a good game. If you've never played that game, you owe it to yourself to play it. So that is it. I'm out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so glad all you guys are around. Appreciate all the support. And I will talk to you guys soon.